My sister was probably halfway to her beachfront dinner reservation when I called her. I kept my voice calm, almost bored, like I was reading her a grocery list instead of an ultimatum. "Hey, just letting you know I'm walking out of the villa right now. You have exactly 5 minutes to get back here before your 4 kids are left completely unsupervised." There was a pause, a real one, the kind where you can hear someone's whole nervous system rearrange itself. Then she screamed. I have never in my 28 years of life heard my sister make a sound like that. Not at her wedding. Not when she found out she was pregnant with the twins. Not even the time she backed her car into a fire hydrant and had to explain it to a cop. This was different. This was primal. And honestly, it was the best sound I'd ever heard. I want to tell you that I felt bad. That there was some flicker of guilt sitting in my chest while I stood on that marble porch with my suitcase already packed, my sunglasses already on, my taxi already 3 minutes out. But there wasn't. There was just this strange, floating calm, like I'd finally set down something heavy I didn't even know I'd been carrying for years. To understand how I got to that porch, though, how I became the kind of person who could say those words to her own sister without her voice shaking, I need to back up. 3 days and honestly about 28 years. I've always been the free one. That's not a joke, that's just contractual apparently in my family. My brother Ethan and my sister Priya both had kids young, both got married before 30, and somewhere in there, without anyone ever sitting me down and explaining the terms, I became the person whose time didn't count. Need someone to watch the twins during a dentist appointment? I'm free. Need someone to pick up the kids from school because work got crazy? I'm free. Need someone to fly in for a weekend because the babysitter canceled and it's your anniversary? I'm free, I'm always free. Because apparently not having children of your own means your calendar is just a blank, sad little void waiting to be filled with somebody else's responsibilities. I used to tell myself it was fine. That's the lie you tell yourself when you're the sibling who shows up. I told myself I liked being useful. I told myself family means sacrifice. I told myself that one day they'd see it, they'd notice, they'd say thank you and mean it. So when the group chat lit up 3 weeks ago with a message from Priya that said, "Okay, don't say no before you hear this out," I actually felt my heart do something embarrassing, something hopeful. The offer, an all expenses paid week at a private villa in Cabo. Flights covered. Just the 3 of us, me, Priya, Ethan, plus their spouses and kids, obviously, but framed, specifically framed, as a real bonding trip, just us, before life gets even crazier. I sat on my couch reading that message 3 times. Bonding trip, just us. I actually let myself believe for one soft, stupid moment that my family had looked around and thought, hey, we should include her. Not because we need something, because we love her. I said yes before I even checked my work calendar. I requested the days off with a smile on my face that my coworkers definitely noticed and asked about. I told my best friend Dana over drinks that maybe, finally, they were starting to treat me like an actual adult in this family, and not just a backup parent with no kids of her own to worry about. Dana, to her credit, just raised an eyebrow and said, "Did they say why now?" I didn't have an answer, I didn't want one. I wanted the villa, the ocean, the photos, the version of my family where I mattered for reasons that had nothing to do with what I could do for them. I should have listened to Dana's eyebrow. The first crack showed up 2 days before the flight, in a text from Priya that I read fast and let myself not think about too hard. "BTW, we booked you a flight using those miles you let us borrow last year, hope that's okay. Saved us a ton lol." I remember reading it and feeling a small, distant flicker of something not quite suspicion, more like a draft coming in under a door, and then closing my phone and packing my swimsuits instead. The villa itself, when the taxi pulled up the long gravel driveway, looked like something out of a magazine. White stucco walls, an infinity pool that seemed to spill straight into the ocean, palm trees swaying like they were choreographed. I stood there with my suitcase, genuinely, stupidly happy, thinking, this is it, this is the trip where things are different. Ethan met me at the door with a beer already in his hand at 11 in the morning. "There she is," he said, like I was a celebrity guest instead of his sister who'd flown 4 hours on points she didn't even remember approving. Priya came out behind him in a robe, hair already in rollers, holding her phone like it was surgically attached to her palm. "Okay, so," she said, before I'd even set my suitcase down, "quick tour, then we need to talk logistics." Logistics in a family bonding trip. I filed that word away somewhere and kept smiling. The tour took 4 minutes. 4 bedrooms. Ethan and his wife Claire took the master suite with the ocean view balcony. Priya and her husband Marcus took the second best room, the one with the private terrace and the ridiculous rainfall shower. The kids, all 4 of them, ages 2 to 7, already shrieking somewhere in the background over a broken toy, were apparently splitting the third room, bunk beds and all. Which left me standing in the living room, waiting for someone to point me toward the 4th bedroom. Nobody pointed. "So where am I?" I started. "Oh," Priya said it like she'd genuinely forgotten I was a person who needed to sleep somewhere. "So there wasn't technically a 4th bedroom available when we upgraded the booking, but the pull-out couch is super comfy, I promise." Marcus tried it. I looked at the couch. There was a Paw Patrol backpack sitting on one cushion. A half-eaten granola bar sat wedged into the seam of another. Someone's stuffed elephant had been decapitated at some point in its life and never repaired. "You upgraded the booking," I repeated. "Yeah, we found this way nicer place last minute. It has the infinity pool and everything, isn't it gorgeous?" Priya was already walking away, phone back up to her ear, mid-sentence with someone else entirely. I stood there in that gorgeous, gorgeous living room, next to a couch that smelled faintly like apple juice, and I felt the first real crack of doubt split all the way open. But I told myself, because that's what I always tell myself, that it was one detail, one weird oversight. Everyone makes mistakes when they're excited and disorganized. I told myself the trip would still be what they promised, bonding us. I unpacked my suitcase into a corner of the living room, folding my clothes into a neat little pile on top of a side table because there wasn't a dresser, wasn't a closet, wasn't anywhere in this $15,000 villa that had been designed with the idea that I might exist as a guest and not as furniture. 10 minutes, that's genuinely all it took. I heard heels clicking on the tile before I saw her. Priya came out of her room in a slip dress the color of a sunset, hair no longer in rollers but in loose, expensive-looking waves, holding a clutch purse that probably cost more than my flight. Claire followed a minute later in something similarly stunning. And behind her, Ethan and Marcus, both freshly showered, both smelling like cologne, both already reaching for the car keys on the entry table. "Okay, so," Priya said, checking her lipstick in the hallway mirror. "We actually booked this adults-only sunset dinner cruise like months ago. It's non-refundable, and normally we'd never leave the kids, but..." She turned. And for the first time since I'd arrived, she actually smiled at me like she meant it. "Thank God you're here. You're a lifesaver, seriously. There's frozen chicken nuggets in the freezer, bedtime's at 8, but good luck with that, huh? Emergency numbers are on the fridge." I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. "We'll be back late-ish," Ethan added, already halfway out the door, not even fully looking at me. "Don't wait up." And then the door closed and I heard the rental car pull out of the driveway, gravel crunching under tires, and the sound faded into the distance until it was just me. Me and 4 kids I loved very much, standing in a living room that smelled like sunscreen and juice boxes, on what I had been told in writing was a bonding trip. The 2-year-old immediately started crying about something involving a missing sock. The 7-year-old announced she was starving despite having eaten a full lunch on the plane 4 hours ago. Someone's elbow connected with my shin hard enough to leave a mark I'd find later, blooming purple, like a little souvenir. I sat down on the lumpy pull-out couch, granola bar crumbs and all, and I did what I always do. I got up. I made the nuggets. I found the missing sock. I negotiated a truce over whose turn it was on the iPad. I told myself again one more time that this was just one night, that tomorrow would be different, that this was the last time I'd let myself feel this small in my own family. And that's when I saw it. The iPad, the one I'd handed to the 7-year-old to buy myself 30 seconds of silence, lit up on the kitchen counter with a notification banner sliding down from the top of the screen. A text message from Ethan to Priya. I wasn't trying to read it. I want to be clear about that. I was just standing there, exhausted, holding a paper towel roll, and my eyes landed on it the way your eyes land on anything glowing in a dark room. 2 lines, that's all it took. I read it once, then I read it again, slower, to make sure I wasn't imagining it. and something in my chest went very, very quiet. Did you tell her she's on night duty yet? Good thing we used her miles for her flight, saved us a ton lol. I read it a third time, just to be sure I hadn't invented it out of exhaustion and apple juice fumes. Night duty. Like I was staff. Like there was a schedule somewhere with my name on it that nobody had bothered to show me. And the miles, my miles, the ones I'd handed over 8 months ago when Priya called me crying about a family emergency that apparently now retroactively meant funding her free vacation nanny, they'd used them like pocket change. Like I was a coupon they'd found in a drawer. I set the iPad down very carefully on the counter, screen still glowing, and I stood there for a long moment doing absolutely nothing. Not crying, not shaking, just breathing, slow and even, while the 2-year-old sobbed somewhere behind me about a sock that had apparently been found and was now, inexplicably, the wrong sock. I want to tell you I had some big cinematic breakdown. I didn't. What I had was quieter than that and honestly scarier in retrospect for anyone who knows me. Something in me just closed, like a door swinging shut on its own weight, no slam, just a soft click of a latch finally catching. I got the kids settled with a movie and a promise of ice cream tomorrow that I fully intended to keep. Because none of this was their fault. They were just small people who didn't ask to be used as leverage. Then I picked up my phone and did the only thing that felt like it belonged to me in that entire villa. I searched Adults Only Resort, and Cabo popped the name of the place I'd noticed on the drive-in, a sprawling white property directly across the road. The kind with an infinity pool that looked like it had been airbrushed. The kind where the cars in the valet line cost more than my rent. I booked a suite. 1 week. Non-refundable because at that point I didn't care if I was throwing money into the ocean. I was buying my life back at full price. No coupon, no miles, no favors owed. Confirmation email landed in my inbox 40 seconds later. I stared at it for a second longer than necessary, just to feel it land. Then I packed. It didn't take long. I'd never really unpacked in the first place. Just that sad little folded pile on the side table, waiting like some part of me had known. I called a taxi, 15 minutes out. And then, while I waited by the door with my suitcase upright beside me like a very calm, very well-dressed bomb about to go off, I called my sister. She picked up on the second ring, laughing at something in the background, glass clinking, ocean somewhere behind her voice. Hey, everything okay? Are the kids? Everyone's fine, I said. My voice came out so level I almost didn't recognize it. I just wanted to let you know I'm walking out the door right now. You have about 5 minutes before the kids are here alone. Silence. The kind where you can actually hear someone's brain trying to process words that don't fit into any sentence they were expecting. What do you mean wait, is this a joke? Not a joke. I saw the text on Ethan's phone about the night duty, about my miles. Another silence, shorter this time but heavier, the kind that confirms something instead of questioning it. Okay, that's not what we can explain that, just don't leave please, just wait. We're like 40 minutes out, we can't just. I know, I said, that's kind of the point. And then she screamed. That's the part I told you about already. The sound I genuinely never heard come out of her before, primal and a little unhinged. The sound of a person realizing in real time that the free thing they'd been counting on had a limit after all. I heard Marcus's voice in the background, confused, asking what was happening. And I heard Priya say my name 3 times in a row like repeating it might change the outcome. And I heard the unmistakable sound of high heels moving very fast across pavement toward a car. We're coming, just don't leave the kids. I'm not leaving them alone, I said, and this part was true. I want to be clear. I would never actually have done it. I'm not a monster. I just needed her to believe for 5 full minutes that I might be. I'm waiting right here until you pull into that driveway. Then I'm gone. I hung up. The taxi arrived 4 minutes later. I watched its headlights swing into the gravel driveway just as another set of headlights, faster, more reckless, clearly breaking every speed limit Mexico had ever posted, came screeching around the corner from the opposite direction. Priya's rental car skidded to a stop so hard gravel sprayed up against the villa's white stucco wall. She was out of the passenger door before it had even fully stopped rolling. One heel already broken, mascara starting to run, screaming my name across the driveway like we were in some kind of low-budget action movie. I looked at her, I looked at the taxi driver patiently waiting, engine idling. I looked back at her. "Kids are watching a movie," I said. "There's ice cream in the freezer for tomorrow, have a good night." And then I got in the taxi, and I didn't look back, even though every instinct in my body wanted to see her face in that moment, wanted to memorize it. I decided I didn't need to see it to know exactly what it looked like. The drive across the street took maybe 90 seconds. Long enough to hear my phone buzz twice, then 5 times, then not stop. The resort lobby smelled like eucalyptus and something citrusy, all soft lighting and quiet piano music. A world so completely different from the villa that it felt like I'd stepped through some kind of portal. A woman in a linen dress handed me a cold towel and a glass of champagne before I'd even finished checking in. And I remember thinking, distantly, that this was the first time in 3 days anyone had handed me something without also handing me a responsibility. My suite had an ocean view, a real bed, king-sized, with more pillows than I'd sleep with correctly, and a bathroom bigger than the villa's entire kids' room. I set my suitcase down in the closet, an actual closet with hangers, like I was a person who deserved storage, and I walked straight out onto the balcony with my champagne glass still in hand. Across the street, through the palm trees, I could see the villa's lights blazing, tiny figures moving around frantically in what I imagined was some kind of chaos I no longer had to participate in. I sat down on the balcony chair, took a sip, and finally let myself pick up my phone. 53 unread messages. The family group chat absolutely detonating in real time. I didn't read them yet. I just looked at the number for a second, feeling something unfamiliar settle into my chest where the guilt usually lived. It felt a lot like peace. I muted the group chat before I finished my champagne, not because I was scared of what was in there. I could already guess roughly the shape of it. Some mix of pleading and outrage, and Priya trying 3 different tones in the span of 10 messages, hoping one of them would land. I muted it because for the first time in longer than I could remember, what was happening in that chat wasn't actually my problem to manage in real time. It could wait. It could wait until I was ready to look at it, on my schedule, in my own bed, on my own terms. I slept better that night than I had in months. No monitor for tiny elbows finding their way into my ribs. No half-conscious listening for a cry down the hall. Just the low hush of the ocean through the balcony door I'd left cracked open. And a mattress that didn't have a metal bar hidden somewhere under the cushions waiting to find my spine at 3 a.m. I woke up to a knock. Room service, the good kind, the kind you order the night before with a little card you leave on the door, coffee, fruit. A croissant still warm enough to fog the little glass dome they'd covered it with. I ate breakfast on the balcony in a robe that felt like a cloud, and only then, coffee in hand, did I finally open the group chat. 53 messages had become well over 100 by morning. I'm not going to read you every single one, because honestly, a lot of it blurred together into the same 3 notes played on repeat: disbelief, guilt-tripping, and a kind of wounded outrage that somehow always circled back to how I had made things difficult for them. Priya had gone through what I recognized as her classic 5 stages, compressed into about 4 hours. Panic, bargaining, fury, wounded silence, and then, somewhere around 2 a.m. her time, a long paragraph about how she never expected this level of pettiness from someone she'd trusted with her kids. I read that one twice, mostly because of how impressive it was structurally as a piece of denial. I didn't respond, not yet. I had a spa appointment. That's genuinely how I spent the next few days. And I'm not going to pretend I didn't enjoy every single second of narrating it to myself like a nature documentary. Day 2. A couple's massage, except it was just me, alone, blissfully alone, getting a 90-minute deep tissue while somewhere across the street, a toddler was reportedly refusing to nap and Ethan and Claire had to skip their reservation at the restaurant they'd been posting about for a month. Day 3, poolside, adults only, a margarita sweating gently in the Cabo sun while I posted exactly one photo, my feet, the pool, the ocean beyond it, captioned simply "living my best life tropical drink," and let the algorithm do whatever it wanted with it. The updates from the other side of the street came in anyway, because Priya couldn't help herself. Apparently the Sunset Cruise dinner got rebooked and then canceled again because nobody could find a sitter on short notice in a foreign country, which, imagine that. Apparently Marcus tried to negotiate with the concierge at my resort to see if they had any emergency childcare services, and was informed politely that this was an adults-only property specifically because it did not offer that. Apparently there was a very bad night involving all 4 kids, 1 stomach bug, and no working washing machine in the villa. A detail I did not ask for and will treasure forever. By day 4, the messages had shifted tone. Fury cooled into something more calculating. Priya sent a message that read almost sweetly, "Can we talk when you're back home? I feel like this whole thing is a misunderstanding and it's kind of ruining the trip for everyone." Ruining the trip, as if I'd broken something instead of simply declining to keep paying for it. That was the message that finally got a response out of me, not an angry one. I didn't have any anger left to spend on this, not really. It had all converted, somewhere over the ocean or maybe somewhere in that infinity pool, into something colder and much more useful. I sent a screenshot, the one from Ethan's phone, the one about night duty and my flight miles. Then underneath it, calm as anything, I typed, "Not a misunderstanding. I saw this on the iPad the first night. You upgraded your villa using the money you would have spent on a nanny, and you paid for my flight with miles I lent you for an emergency, not a vacation. I'm not mad anymore. I'm just done. Consider this my resignation from free childcare permanently." The chat went quiet for almost 20 minutes, which for that group might as well have been a geological era. Then Priya tried one more angle, the version of her that had gotten her through every argument since we were kids, wounded and disbelieving, insisting I was being dramatic and that every family helps out with kids. I let that one sit unanswered for a full day, and when I finally did reply, it was short. "You're right, family does help out. That's why I've done it for years, for free, without a bedroom, without being asked, without a thank you. I'm not doing it anymore. That's not drama. That's a boundary." Nobody had a response to that one. Not a real one anyway. Just Ethan, hours later, sending a single message that said this is insane to nobody in particular, which I decided not to dignify with anything at all. I flew home 2 days early. I'd upgraded myself to first class using points that were entirely, unambiguously mine, and I spent the flight with a glass of champagne I didn't have to share, watching a movie I didn't have to pause every 11 minutes for someone else's emergency. Somewhere over the gulf, I opened the group chat one more time, scrolled past the last dozen increasingly unhinged messages without reading a word of them, and blocked every single number in it. Ethan, Priya, even Marcus and Claire, honestly, for good measure, since neither of them had said a single word in my defense the entire week. Then I put my phone in airplane mode, leaned my seat back as far as it would go, and closed my eyes. I didn't feel guilty. I want to be really clear about that because I think that's the part people expect me to feel and don't. I felt light, like I'd been carrying something for years without realizing how heavy it actually was, and I'd finally set it down on someone else's driveway and driven away. The single ant tax, as far as I'm concerned, is permanently, gloriously closed for business.